What's crackin', y'all, and welcome to an easy modern house building guide in Valheim during the Mistlands update. Now today I'm going to be using dev commands on no flying, so all this will be extremely easy to replicate without dev commands. So to kick it off, we are going to go ahead and get an outline for our foundation using the black marble. Now this is 9 by 11, leaving a little cutout right there for our front porch and an extrusion for our garage. After you have gone ahead and filled this bad boy in, we're going to start working on our front wall, which will have one window, a spot for the front door, and then of course this over here will be for the garage. And while we put these walls up, it would behoove you to just go ahead and sink some iron into them. That way you're not going to have to come back and start from the ground up. As we build up, we can just add iron as we go. Now we'll just finish this off and we will start on our side wall, which is very simple, just 2 windows. And then we're going to move on to the back, put off a little extra black marble back here to remind us where we're going to put our back porch. And then we're just going to run 2 little walls with 2 little 1 by 2 windows in them as well. And there's no need in making no little narrow ass back door, so we're going to leave this thing nice and wide. But I am going to go ahead and run some wood beams up the sides and in the corners and go ahead and place some iron in them as well. And now we can just catch up our side walls, since I just kind of skimmed through and put the quick layout down. Now this will be the height of the first and second floor. There's no need making it any taller than this. It'll be excessive, and if it's any lower than this, it's a little tight. But now that everything's caught up, we are good to just go ahead and pop up a 1 window wall right here, which I'm just going to make this a little wider of a window, and we're going to call that good. We don't want to overdo it with windows, because that's just not, it just doesn't look right, if you know what I mean. But now we shall just go ahead and move on to making our garage door, which I went ahead and added this extra row of black marble and these stairs right here just as a placeholder for now. But to begin this garage door, we're going to go ahead and just run 2 boards on either side and then put some wood beams in them and then just connect them real easy. You could do this with the little 1 by 1s, but we're going to use the 2 by 1s to make the garage door a little smaller. And then we're going to flip them around and we're going to inset them just a little bit into the wood frame right here. That way it's just kind of sitting in and it's not flush with these wood beams right here. Now for our windows, we're going to want to go ahead and do 1 every other. And this will give us that nice little garage door pattern for the windows. And then we'll come back with the 1 by 1 wood walls and we'll flip them around so we got the smooth side on this side. And we'll go ahead and inlay them, trying to match up the planks as best we can. And then we'll grab the 2 by 1 wood walls and we'll come up top. And there is like a magical snap point that you can hit. It is right in here somewhere. Off the top. It makes no sense because these boards aren't lined up. There it is right there. Boom. For some reason you can hit that snap point and I don't know why. Because that wall is not lined up with that 2 by 1. But hey, I'll take it. I'm not complaining. But now that we have this top done, we can go ahead and we can run a little band right here underneath these windows to try to turn them into rectangles and not squares, because that doesn't look very garage door like if you've ever seen a garage door. But by running the little wood beams right here, we can effectively achieve our little rectangles. Alright, now getting into our staircase, we are going to put up a dividing wall right here, which will separate kind of the main room from the garage, and then we will build our staircase right alongside of this. Now it's important to keep in mind where the inclines of your roof is going to be, because that's usually the biggest problem that you will find with building your staircase, is that as you go up you will hit a roof somewhere if you're not, you know, preemptive in your planning and making sure that you just put your staircase far enough away from the wall. So we're going to come off over here, and this should be plenty far enough away for us to be able to come up to the second story and not hit the wall and not have to make any turns with our stairs. So now we're just going to give ourselves some floor to walk on before we can start building our roof to keep all this wood from deteriorating any more than it has. But now that we got some floor to stand on, we can go ahead and get cracking on to our first floor roofing. So we're going to go ahead and just run some right on down the side of this garage right here. And then we're going to do it the same on the other side, and then just come around over the front like so. Bada boom. Now we're going to grab our little inverted corner piece right here, and we're going to put that in the proper place. And now we can build our peak over for the garage. Now this will be an odd number, so you will need a center tile, but first we are going to just go ahead and get our test peek down to make sure everything is lined up square and we didn't catch a wrong snap point anywhere. It's always smart to put down like a test peek whenever you're doing roofing to make sure your roof is gonna go down the way you planned for it, just like that, except for this random roof tile in here. Get rid of that. It looks good. Now we can go ahead and get working on our wall right here. So we're going to come up with the second story right off of the back of the garage right here, and we're just going to include two little skylight-esque windows right here at the top of it, and we can just continue to wall this all the way down. And we're going to add a couple window panes jutting out into this roofing tile, that way just to give it a little definition on the front of the house. And you can of course have like a window seal on the inside that you can put stuff on, or put a couple hair rugs on to add a texture to the top of that window pane. But then just of course coming right up the side with the 1x1 wood walls, and of course framing it in with the wood beams as well to cover up those kind of ugly little boards on the back sides of those wall boards, and finishing it off with wood beams like always, making beautiful corners. And then not forgetting to come back and lay iron into all of this, and to make sure it connects to our wood beam down there, our iron beam, in the corner. We're going to run a horizontal board right into the bottom. Otherwise it will break if we don't connect it to our iron that's already connected to the ground / stone. And then just finishing this wall off like that. And boom, now we have the front wall done. And then of course filling in the rest of our floor so I could quit falling down into the bottom. But now moving on to our next side wall. This is one's going to be another simple one with just one window. And then coming to our back wall, we're going to do another simple wall with just two windows on either side above the little 2x1 windows below. Now you could do this any way you like. Just keep in mind that symmetry is always the best policy, in my opinion, because symmetry never looks bad. You know, if you have two windows and they're evenly spaced on either side of the wall, it's not going to look horrible. But there we have it, a beautiful symmetrical wall, but with one offset window in the other side, giving the symmetry, you know, a nice contrast to something that's just off placed, you know, which I'm no artistic expert, but it looks good to me, and they do it in a lot of houses. And if doing the same thing over here, we'll put one little corner window on that whole solid wall, and then just running our band all the way around the house is optional for the top roof, because if you put a band on the top, then you will have, you know, the spikes of the tar shingles sticking through them, and you'll see the wooden outline real well. But what is not optional is making sure that you have your iron all the way up in all the important spots, because some of those corners on the second story do not line up with the corners on the bottom. But now, as you can see, I'm just running around and I'm adding up partitions and room dividers all throughout the house. You can do this any way you want. You can make hallways, little bedrooms. I would rather several large rooms that you could make use of, you know, loading up with all your workbench upgrades and forge upgrades. Takes a lot of space, and it's nice to have some excess room to be able to wall them off if you want to hide them. But moving to the top floor, you want to make sure that you have your wood iron wrapped around at least all the way the back side. You don't need iron in the front necessarily, because right here the roof ends pretty early on, so it doesn't actually need the extra support of the iron. But as you can see, we are just going to run some quick peaks right here, connecting the ones off our jut out to the side. And this will be led all the way down the backside into the hip off of the rear of the house eventually. But now if we come over here and complete this, this will be our little L-shaped roof pattern that we will extend out with the overhangs eventually right here. But now we can move over to the garage and start our hip roof that will wrap all the way around 3/4 of the house. Skipping the corners, we'll do all those at once. And as you can see, it hooks right up to the side of that. And then we can just pop our corners in like so. And now we have our first level of the roof done. Now, as you can see with this one, we are going to start right here off the corner of this roof, and we're going to wrap all the way around, skipping the corners the same way we just did, and it will eventually bleed right back into this roof peak. And it won't stick out the front side because we have the other like jutting out roof, the jutting out window pane right there, so it'll cover it up and it matches up perfectly. That is what we like. And now we can come back and fill our corners in again once more. Now that we have all of this so close together, we are good to just go ahead and run our corner pieces all the way up and make them touch, and then we'll be able to come back and fill it all in with the regular roof and shingles. But this will be our little beta test to make sure that our roof lines up appropriately. But feeling confident anyways, because as we've been going along and everything's matching up, you should be confident that it will have a good end effect. If nothing's lining up as you're building, you should definitely know that the end effect is not going to be good. Or at least it won't end cleanly. As you can see, we have a clean loft right here where we can hide all of our different unnecessary resting buff pieces. But now moving downstairs, we are going to start on our front porch. Now just giving us a little spot to work. We may not use all of this black marble, but it's better to have a little excess than not. Now we shall add a little overhang right here. But now we'll do our rails out of the new diverger metal, giving it a little wood border accent. It's a nice contrast. I wish there was more build pieces for the diverger metal. I could make more use out of it, but maybe I just haven't given it time. I'll sit there and stare at it long enough on a house, it'll come to me like, oh, I should slap that on something. So give it a few months, something might hit me. But now we have our little wood border, now we have our little wood beam accents completed. We are good to move on to finishing the peaks of our roofs. Now if we want to avoid the little wood border of it snapping to our roof tile, we can hold down control while we place, and we can fit it in like so. And this way it's placed underneath the roofing tile and not in it, and it won't show through the roofing tile itself. And we can just fill it in with wood, and we will have a little gap up there that we're going to have to come back and fill from the inside, but that's okay. Now giving ourselves our overhang, coming back with our little 1 meter beams, we stick them off the sides and then inlay our roofing tile into those so it shoots into the roof, which this is a super common method of giving yourself overhangs. And I'm not going to do this all the way around the house. I'm only going to do it on the front peaks. There's no need in putting a large overhang all the way around. As you can tell, these roofing shingles have a pretty good overhang themselves, so it's a little unnecessary to go all the way. But coming up top, we're going to go ahead and we're going to wall this in actually a little bit. So to get this set up proper, we're going to have to get rid of some wood in here to give us some room to work, some of that floor. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to hold down control, and we're going to place this underneath the roofing tile. I'm going to come back with some wood beams, frame this in, and then we'll take our wood and we'll run right up the side, and we'll make a nice window frame right here. Boom, there we have it, ready for an overhang. But before that, we need to get this peak caught up and just do the same exact method that we've done on the other peaks, and then adding a nice trim piece wood beam right across the top. There we go, sealing that in, and now we can go ahead and put our overhang onto this roof, getting rid of our little 1 meter boards. Now you could leave the trim boards on there and go all the way around. I have done this on a lot of builds, but I'm not going to do it on every single edge. I will only do it on these top edges and maybe on the fronts of these, depending. Now, like I said, we can finish this off by putting a little ridge cap across this. There we go, connecting that in and putting a ridge cap on this one as well. Now see what I was saying as it sticks through. Now that is optional. I think I am going to have to take those off. Yeah, that looks a lot better like that. You can still see the wood iron, but you just can't see it as well as you can see the wood beams. Just finish sealing all these windows in. We'll do this all the way around the house, and we'll add our little window seal overhang for the outside. And then for our glass, we're going to hold shift again to kind of break it off that so it's not flush with this window, and kind of inset it just a little bit. Now it will be sticking through the wall a little bit on the back side, which it doesn't bother me too much, but if it bothers you and it doesn't sit right and it's funky, you can always lay out another wall on the inside to cover it up. And we're just going to continue that all the way around the house, except for our one large window, which is too large to be able to glass properly. So we're going to have to inlay this one with some diverger metal, and we shall take the crystal and just snap them right into the diverger metal, which the crystal is so reflective, it's hard to tell that there's anything inside there unless you get up there and look. And it still lets in a bunch of light. So it does the job, and it doesn't look that bad. Once we have all of our windows caught up, we're good to go ahead and start putting together our quick and easy back porch. Now this one is just going to be a quick little 3-piece roof coming off with 2 supports. Nothing special, nothing fancy. Doesn't need too much explaining. I just did the rails out of diverger metal. I sunk them into the bottom of the stone, and then I just lined them real quick with wood. It has a good effect. Now for this back door, I do want to keep it wide, so I am going to go ahead and I'm going to grab the 45-degree wood walls, and I'm going to make me a quick diamond hallway passage real fast. Looks good. Boom. And now we have a nice wide doorway, and we can add some shutters onto this back just to give it a nice little gate effect. I wouldn't really close them, I'll just leave them open. That way you can tell that there's a little gate door right here on those. And now for a good final effect, we're going to come back to all the overhangs. We're going to add the diagonal wood beams right across. That way we can have some like fascia boards. It's a good accent. There we go. Now I can reach that bad boy. And voila, there we have it. And we have put all of our X's up on our peaks to give it that nice longhouse feel, since you know this is a Viking game. But now we can do a little tour of the floor plan. As we can see, we have the common room, the little stairwell right here, the beautiful wide back door leading around into the nice and spacious garage. Yes, looking good, looking good. No clipping of any kind. Walls look pretty clean, ready to be decorated. Moving up, not a tight turn for the staircase. A nice inlaid window. Like I told you, since we pushed the windows in a little bit, they are sticking through this side just a tad, but that's alright. Alright, we have our second little bedroom over here. Have our loft access. Not getting in the way with the roof, because we kind of watched how we placed our ladders right there. Walled in, and overall I think this place is ready to be decorated. Now that is not something that I'm going to cover in this video. That is an extremely long and drawn out process that requires a lot of thought. Unless that's something you've been struggling with, if that's the case, comment down below. Let me know. I wouldn't mind making a guide on how to properly set up a house in Valheim to flow and function like one should, and what's the most efficient way to do so. But if you have any kind of problems while you try to recreate this build, don't forget to join the unknown Discord in the description below. I'll be happy to help you with anything along the way. And if you made it this far in the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more Valheim. As always, folks, I'll catch you guys in the next one.